Can Ipswich Town break the post-international break stroke Sky TV hoodoo? Well, we'll never know now. This is the Blue Monday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, discussing Ipswich Town, regardless of whether there's a match or not, since 2015. I'm Craig Fimbo, and this is the bastardised Flagship Show. And when I say bastardised, I refer obviously to us bringing the various bits and pieces of our weekly pods into one, rather than referring to our fine, dry Sunday lineup. And as you can see, we are overloaded with guests and contributors this evening. Given there's such a lot to talk about, we thought we'd get the full gang on board, and there are, as you can see, 4 of us here this evening. Joining me in reverse order of dampness, David Diamond, Mikey Pendy-Smith and Seb Brown. Good evening to you all. Dave, do you want to talk about rugby or cricket? Your choice,
mate. I mean, I think cricket. I think we need to vent. We need to vent first, don't we? We had the same conversation this time last week, where I think I said to you, "Why, when you win the toss in a day-night game, do you bowl first? Do you put the opposition into bat?" Anyway, I think I've just about got over that. And the rugby, I wasn't expecting, like everybody else, I think, or most people, wasn't expecting too much out of it. But nail-bitingly close, wasn't it? Deary me, oh dear.
Yeah, it's good. That's good. A better evening than morning, sports-wise, I think.
I think it's safe to say that. Yeah, my God, yeah, absolute hammering in the morning, wasn't it?
Mikey, you're predominantly here to test your new internet connection. You've been through a period of trying that Two Ronnies sketch, haven't you? Whereby you were like answering the question previous to the question that had just been asked, but everything seems to be okay at the moment.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Yeah, thanks for the lovely introduction, Craig. All the things you could have gone for, you just went straight in at the internet.
And the Two Ronnies, yeah. Just to keep it.
I have to say,
I'll have to Google them.
Best sketch ever. Absolutely best sketch ever, isn't it?
And Seb, you had a slightly less curtailed journey than Mikey did on Friday, albeit the misfortune of having Mullet in the car, I believe.
Well, yeah, I basically left my office at 2, drove to Mullet's training course, picked him up in Salford, drove him to his home in Manchester and drove home again. So it was about a 200-mile round trip to basically get Mullet home from his day at work. So yeah, not the best of days, but there we go. But I got to call him a troll for quite a lot in the car, which was quite enjoyable, although he didn't take it very well. So
does he make you wear a cap while he sits in the back of your car?
He often refers to me as chauffeur. And when I asked him where I was collecting him from, he said I'd like my taxi to be at this address at this time. So yeah.
Literally,
definitely kind of takes me.
Limo.
Yeah, it takes me for granted.
Yourself and Uber are putting the real cab drivers out of business, aren't you? Okay, well, good evening to everyone. Good evening to you guys, and good evening to everyone that's watching. Let's have a quick look and see who's around. Adi, good evening to yourself. Chris is here. Yeah, we're glossing over cricket and rugby, but yeah, it was unexpected. We can probably do half an hour on it, but we probably
easily
won't bother. Max, good morning from Melbourne. 6 a.m. here. Seems like forever since you played. Yeah, it does. And you've got an extra day on us as well, Max, haven't you? So it's been an extra day for you since we last played. Nick, yes, like us all, you're sort of looking forward to the Friday, thinking, well, we're going to have a spare Saturday. But then when even Friday doesn't happen, it does tend to elongate the break a little bit. Good evening to you, David. Good evening. Hi to Eric. Hello to Rob. Hello to Jack from Spain. Oh, good, fantastic stuff. So we're ticking off. We're ticking off Spain. We're ticking off Australia, and we're ticking off Bristol. Sam's in Bristol, so hi to you. Hi to Romeo. Hi to Veronica. So yeah, if you want to please stick your comments in the chat or ask us a question, which we'll get to later on. As ever, stick a cue at the beginning. You know the drill. If you've got any advice on the treatment of trench foot or something like that for Mikey and Seb, it'll just help us to help me to grab the questions and stick them on the screen. But first, we'll have a little catch up on the news, and our intrepid ITFC women's supporter Rich, I believe, was on the coach down to Kent today to see ITFC women play Chatham, previously known as Gillingham, I think. They changed their name. And they were 6-1 victors this afternoon in the Southern Premier Division against, say, Chatham. A brief update from Rich. Leanna Gunning-Williams opened the scoring with a fabulous solo effort before a penalty, which won by Blue Monday sponsored Lucy O'Brien, was converted by Bonnie Harwood. On fire striker Natasha Thomas netted a brace before half-time to make it 4-0 at the break. Town weren't as ruthless in the second half, but did manage to add to their goals. Sophie Pescott and a thronker from Nia Evans sandwiched a cheap goal conceded to Chatham after a defensive mix-up. But there was a late sending off to Ruby Doe, who took exception to some rough treatment from her opposite number. If Ruby Doe's nickname isn't Ray Me, then something's going horribly, horribly wrong. Town move up to third in the table and are next in action in the League Cup away at Cardiff on the 5th of November. So you can probably expect some fireworks in that game. Okay, so moving on to some news. I know you guys covered it a little bit in what was a completely unneeded and waste of time pre-match show, Seb. But
how much time did Seb waste on behalf of that one fixture? If
Well,
you include all of the research, the podcasts, and then all of the chauffeuring you did.
At least we can just press play again when we play the replayed fixture whenever it's announced. We'll just re-queue it up again and people can watch it and see if parts of it are still relevant or not.
How far did you get, Mikey? How far did you get?
So I was actually working in Liverpool on Saturday, so it wasn't a complete disaster. So I was most of the way up the M1, and Seb kindly called me to let me know that the game had been called off, and I pulled over at Donington Services, where I drowned my sorrows with a quick coffee, and then over to Liverpool for the Merseyside derby, which was tepid.
Yeah, it looked it. Yeah.
They tend to be, don't they, at Anfield? Whereas the Goodison ones tend to be a little bit more fight. Well, someone sent off, obviously.
Well, I was lucky enough to be at the Merseyside derby at Everton last season, and it finished 0-0, but just a completely different vibe. Just so much more intensity in the game, and 12:30 kickoffs as well.
We'll get
come on
to
to
that.
12:30 kickoff in a little bit.
What I mean is it takes a special derby to make a 12:30 kickoff work.
Liverpool got away with one, didn't they? Canate should have gone, shouldn't
he? Yeah. So just taking it briefly back to Ipswich. You spoke about it a little bit, I think, on the pre-match. Said Wes Burns landing awkwardly against Gibraltar and injuring his shoulder. There hasn't been official news come out of the club yet, other than he saw a specialist, but we're led to believe it's not super serious and it'll be weeks out rather than anything longer, anything in terms of months. But he's a loss regardless, though, isn't he, in terms of absence? Because he's stepped up again, hasn't he? He's gone up a level, and he's stepped up a level in his performances. So.
He has, yeah. It's a waiting game at the moment, isn't it? Hopefully he's had the scan, and fingers crossed, like you say, it'll be weeks rather than months. If it is surgery and it is months, that'll be a real blow. But hopefully we can get him back maybe the other side of the upcoming November international break. Because like you say, he has stepped up. His start rate under McKenna must be ridiculously high when he's fit and available. And he always offers that outlet, that pace on the right-hand side. And he just started to kind of get going a bit this season. There was a bit of criticism aimed against him, I think, in the early games, maybe Sunderland and Stoke. But the last couple of games, he'd really sort of moved up to a new level, and frustrating for him. But if it is, hopefully it's not months. If it is weeks, then I guess it's great to have Hutchinson pretty much up to speed, who can slot in there and cut inside on that left foot. Jackson will always be a willing runner in that kind of channel and put himself in behind the fullback if he can. So it's a real blow for us, a real blow for him. But hopefully it's going to be back in time for that horrible looking December, January fixture list rather than sometime into the new year.
Yeah, it may turn out to be a bit of a blessing in disguise, I suppose, if he can, rest a little bit while he's getting back to shoulder fitness, and then he'll be gunning for those December fixtures. Another player who's going to be working his way up to fitness, Axel Tuanzebe. Mikey, we heard during the week from Kieran McKenna that he's We'll probably get a glimpse of him in the next couple of weeks. And he played in a inter-club match during the international break, got an hour or so in that. When will we see him? If it's Fulham, does he start? And if he starts, who does he replace?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, that really, isn't it? Because you'd want George Edmondson to get minutes in that game as well, especially as he's probably the established third choice centre back. But I'd be surprised if McKenna went with Edmondson and Tuanzebe. So I feel like, yeah, one of them's going to be disappointed unless Tuanzebe just comes on 60 minutes for George Edmondson and he does it that way.
Yeah.
Around, because I guess 30 minutes in a game of that magnitude is better than nothing. But yeah, Tuanzebe hasn't played a minute of league football since March. Did keep a clean sheet against Norwich in that game though. Did a little bit of research.
Good work. So yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Actually, in terms of maybe still breaking him in slowly and giving him half hour, 40 minutes or so in that match. But it does look like that's probably the most likely time we'll see him. But then he'll hopefully pretty soon afterwards start breathing down the neck of the current starters that are doing a sterling job as it is. And then you've got some real difficult decisions to make, haven't we? A little bit of housekeeping. Fixture changes, as we sort of alluded to earlier. Sky have announced a little bit early, actually, I think, in terms of the Norwich match, in terms of moving bits and pieces. The West Brom match has not changed date, but it's moved timings back to 5:30 on the Saturday, 25th, I think, November. The Millwall game similarly hasn't moved dates. It's moved back to 8 o'clock rather than 7:45. And the big one, the Norwich game, has probably, given the options, it's possibly the best of all worlds, maybe, that it's brought forward to 12:30 rather than being slung at midday on a Sunday, which just drains all life out of all football fixtures. So I say, Dave, it's not too much of a ball ache other than an earlier start for yourself in the Greyhound on that Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, you're right. It's much better. It was either going to be one or t'other, and yeah, much better. You're quite right. 12:30 on a Saturday, than Sunday. I was just trying to think. The last time I forgot about this fixture. I know the last time I thought this fixture was, obviously I conveniently missed out 18 and 19. It was about 6 years ago to the very day today, and I was in hospital after having my bike accident, and that certainly was played on a Sunday when Maddison scored and we lost 1-0. But the next season, I'm pretty sure that was on a Saturday, wasn't it? Do we think a 1-1 game? I think it was. But yeah, and the other two, I say no great surprise that we've been chosen 3 times. We're easy on the eye. Second, yeah, it's all good really. I think there's also another midweek game somewhere in between, isn't it? Is it Watford? But that I assume that's just on the normal. I'd say normal system on the red button. That'll be one,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hope again we've sort of kept up consistently this points per game up until those fixtures would be nice, wouldn't it?
Well, absolutely. Just a good
I
point
think
here.
The Watford game is
sorry,
is that the Sky Sports Arena one?
I think you're right. Actually, it is. Yeah.
So it's one up from a red button game.
Yeah. So you might get replays in that, mightn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
It's actually on a proper channel, if you like, rather than people having to fanny around with red buttons.
Yeah.
Good point here from A in regards to the Tuanzebe chat we were having, that McKenna will want Fridge and Tuanzebe up to speed for January, because Burgess will almost certainly be at the Oceania Cup with Australia. And a bit of unrelated Ipswich news, but sad news that broke yesterday, Dave. And I think you're probably the best positioned out of all of us to talk about it. Sir Bobby Charlton passed away. We can go through stats and numbers and facts and figures in terms of 600 matches for Man U, 200 goals, 100 games for England, 49 goals, which the record stood for what, 50 years?
Eons, didn't it? Absolutely eons, didn't it? Yeah.
European Cup, World Cup, Ballon d'Or. In terms of legends and icons,
Oh, he's up there.
As big as it gets, isn't
Yeah,
it?
he's up there, if not the biggest of all of the England players ever. He's certainly up there, isn't he? And yeah, one of the well, certainly the last one of the Busby babes that were involved in the ill-fated air crash in Munich back in 1958, I think. And yeah, just leaves one World Cup. One of the World Cup winning side, Jeff Hurst, is the only one. Is the only one still there. Yeah, I mean, as you said, 49 goals for England. That stood for ages until Rooney, and then subsequently, obviously, Harry Kane's beaten that. Only one of, I think, 3 English players to have won the both the World Cup and the European Cup. Well, yeah, Champions League, European Cup as it was then. Him, Nobby Stiles, and I think Ian Callaghan from Liverpool, who didn't play at all in '66, but was part of the squad and subsequently got a medal 15 years ago when they changed the rules. But yeah, a true great, and that the true great Man United side were the best Lord Charlton of the 1968 European Cup winning team. The symmetry 10 years after the Munich air crash. Matt Busby builds another team around Bobby Charlton, around Dennis Law and George Best, and they eventually win the European Cup. So yeah, very, very sad, and also very sad from what we understand, like his brother, it was a dementia related related illness. So yeah, that's certainly becoming more and more prevalent of players of that age, of that era, isn't it, sadly?
Yeah, that's right. I say, for what it's worth, we send all our condolences to his
Yeah,
family.
I saw him play live. I checked it out. I saw him play live twice. I saw him play in a League Cup game. The night that George Best, that was one of my very first games I went to, and I saw him play in a league game probably 2 or 3 months before he retired. I checked today, Ipswich won that 4-1 actually, so I can't remember much of his input in the game, but he played then. So I did see him play live a couple of times, which was which was nice to see.
Not when he was player manager of Preston North End, though.
Sadly, not. No, we weren't languishing in the 2nd or 3rd tiers back then.
I think I was reading earlier, he's one of 9 players in the history of the game. You're talking about winning the European Cup and the World Cup, but also to win the Ballon d'Or, which he won the same year we won the World Cup. So,
yeah. No, absolutely outstanding. I think he scored 3 or 4 goals in the tournament, and you can see his goals against goals against Mexico, goals against Portugal in the semi-final. Yeah. Both 2-footed, and most of his goals you see, as Rich just aptly said earlier, absolute thronkers. Pretty much all of them when you saw a Bobby Charlton goal, didn't you? Yeah, superb.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, when you're a kid, you learn the Bobby Charlton shooting technique, where you have both feet off the ground. After you've struck it.
Yeah.
That was
and he said, didn't aim. You listen to Bobby Charlton. Never aim for. Just aim to get the ball between the posts. Never aim. Never really aim at a spot. Just aim to get the ball between the posts.
If you hit the ball as hard as he did, then you could get away with that.
Ferocious. Yeah. No. Yeah. Sad. Very sad.
And Dave,
go on, Mike. Go on.
Sorry, Craig. And this isn't self-promotion because it's just me, something I retweeted, but have you if somebody on Twitter shared the Carlsberg advert from years ago, if Carlsberg did pub teams, Bobby Charlton's in that, Bobby Robson's in it, that it's just brilliant, probably one of the best adverts of all time.
No, it's absolutely fantastic, that. Yeah,
lovely stuff. Okay, so back to Ipswich, and we better talk about Friday and what a checks time show that was, all considered. Just quickly go through the timeline of what happened for those who weren't aware. There was a news item came out on TWTD, not saying it's TWTD's fault, they were just reporting the news, but that the game was expected to go ahead, but also that fans should note that Rotherham Central Station is actually closed due to flooding, which may have rung an alarm bell somewhere on the line on someone's desk, he would have thought, but patently not, because about 20 minutes later there was an official statement from Rotherham saying that they would like to reassure supporters travelling to tonight's game that the club currently has no concerns about the playing surface, blah blah blah, no concerns about a potential postponement, there are no pitch inspections planned, but didn't really take into consideration things that are happening outside that grass oblong inside the stadium. And it was 7 hours later around about 5 o'clock that Mike would have got his phone call from Seb, because Rotherham then announced that the fixture had been postponed on the grounds of supporter safety, after a meeting took place around about 4:30. But it was postponed because the safety of everyone attending the match was at the height of their priorities. So, Mikey, if the safety of everyone attending the match was at the height of their priorities, why did they let thousands of Ipswich Town fans aquaplane up the A1 in torrential rain for the 4 or 5 hours preceding it?
Honestly, I don't know. And when I set off, I felt like it was inevitable that the game was going to get called off, because we'd all seen the pictures of the river that burst its banks up there, and the Galloway coaches didn't even make it to Portman Road to pick up the Ipswich fans, and that was down south. Like, think how much worse the rain is up north. It just felt like that game was never going to be on. And I think maybe Rotherham were maybe a little bit carried away about the fact that the game was on Sky and how much extra stuff goes on behind the scenes to get the Sky cameras, and probably also quite keen to show that they put all of this money into their pitch and that it can hold up in the rain. But yeah, I don't think they put too much thought into the visiting fans and things like that. And yeah, it was a farce, wasn't it, really, in the end, to see the pictures of what it looked like around the ground. I mean, even if it's, I mean, even if it is safe, it's just completely miserable, isn't it? And a pain. You can just call the game off and just play it on another occasion. I really didn't see what the problem is. I've seen a lot of people saying that it was down to Sky. I'm not really sure I subscribe to that theory. Televised matches have an independent person on behalf of the league called a match manager, and ultimately they have final say, and they have to listen to the groundsman, to the club staff, and then I think that they discuss it with the managers on players' safety and things like that. I don't think it would have been Sky saying, "Come on, lads, let's just wait it out a little bit longer. It might be okay." I don't think that was the case.
Yeah, but as you say about pitch postponement, the pitch wasn't the issue. It was never the issue. It was, and Seb, you're further up that way than we are. But when you're hearing on the news that planes are sliding off of runways at Leeds Bradford Airport, that's not a million miles away from Rotherham, my limited knowledge of the north. But we had guys in the Telegram group who were trying to get trains up there, and as you say, Mikey, the coaches weren't running, but the trains weren't running. The trains were getting us halfway up the country and then just being abandoned because they couldn't get any further up the line. So it just seems crazy that it should take so long, and it's not as if we're just around the corner in terms of, again, you think someone at some point would have made a sensible, logical decision and thought, this isn't going to happen. The pitch is fine, but no bugger can get here.
Well, I woke up on the Friday morning, and my commute to work is normally about 45 minutes, and it took me over an hour and a half to get into the office. And I went past cars that were abandoned in flooded roads and stuff. And I thought, the crazy thing is, the weather warning, I don't think was on my side, on the Welsh side. It was on, obviously, the Yorkshire side. And I thought, Christ, it's either going to have to dry out incredibly quickly in the next few hours to get this game on, or surely it's going to be a write-off. And for me, I think I understand we don't have to travel as fans, and it's up to us to make that decision to attend the game, given all the weather warnings. But the frustration for me was kind of the not arrogance of the Rotherham statement, but the fact they were so bullish in that statement and said, we fully expect things to go ahead, and then the complete radio silence for 7 hours. If they just said in the original statement, pitch is fine, surrounding areas might become a concern, we'll do an update at 1 p.m. or something, just to do that extra further bit of reassurance for those guys that were setting off from Suffolk. My 2.5 hours was relatively small compared to some of the treks the guys had to make going up from East Anglia, and I just think to leave it so late in the day was incredibly frustrating, incredibly annoying. But like Mikey said, I think there was an air of inevitability about it. I kind of set off from the office about 2:30 with the same thoughts, thinking I'd be surprised this game goes ahead, because I just couldn't see it happening given the horrific weather conditions that were battering us at the time.
Yeah. Poor all round.
I think what Mikey said is right. However, I still say that if that game's not on Sky, that game's called off at lunchtime or prior to that. No doubt about it.
Yeah, but I think that's probably from the club's perspective.
No, I agree. Yeah, definitely.
Not that I want to come out to bat for Sky Sports.
No. But you know what I mean. No, honestly, if that's a normal thing, well, the normal fixture would have been played because it'd probably been yesterday, wouldn't it? But yeah, if that's just a normal fixture, not on Sky, yeah, that's called off hours before.
Yeah, poor round, and that will presumably, I think we'll struggle to get that match replayed this side of Christmas. So you would have thought that would be stuck in a midweek sometime in the new year on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night.
But Craig, apparently the flooding was that bad up there that you could only just see the tip of the Statue of Liberty outside the stadium.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Oh, that's some sort of like Planet of the Apes reference, mate. Yeah. I got it.
Well, it's
the New York Stadium. Yeah, I got that as well. But there were some games that went ahead. I didn't see much of them, but these are the results that were played, and there wasn't that many. You know, speaking about all this torrential rain that happened, Huddersfield managed to get a game on. Hull managed to get a game on. Preston managed to get a game on, and Stoke actually, because I know it's not Derbyshire, but Derbyshire took a real pounding, didn't it? By all accounts, Chesterfield was underwater. But yeah, just quickly going through the results, please, as ever, if you want to pick out and laugh at anyone in particular, you may pick one that's halfway down the list. Preston North End in the lunchtime game drew 1-1 with Millwall. Blackburn put a bit of a halt to Cardiff's recent surge with a 1-0 home win. Bristol City, who we'll talk about in a second, beat Coventry at home. Huddersfield 2-1 QPR. QPR not quite turning it round yet. You'd have thought that an international break being an ideal time to maybe switch managers. They may need to now wait until mid-November to do that. Good result for Southampton away at Hull. Middlesbrough beat Wayne Rooney's Bristol City. Norwich 2-0 up, I believe they were, before conceding 3 goals to lose 3-2. Stoke 2, Sunderland 1, Swansea 1, Leicester 3. Leicester 1-0 down and came back to straw that one 3-1. Sheffield Wednesday not getting much better for Sheffield Wednesday, losing 1-0 away at Watford, and a pretty dour event, I'm led to believe, at the Hawthorns. West Brom 0, Plymouth 0. Dave, anything there in particular that tickles your fancy?
It's one or two. I mean, Middlesbrough, again, 5th win on the spin. They are them and Leicester, because obviously we had that draw at Huddersfield. Last 5 games are now the form teams. Yeah, I mean, I think certainly Natives getting restless, I think, up the road after that result, and obviously given who the Leeds manager is. But yeah, a couple of cracking goals from Somerville to win that in the sort of last 10-15 minutes. Yeah, and as you say, Leicester, as Richard's used that for us, as the juggernaut. The juggernaut just rolls on. That is Leicester. Yeah, Chris just made that first club in second-tier history to win their first 6 away games on the spin. So, yeah, I safely say I think they are the team to try and hang on to.
If they're still winning away games when we play in December, that will be a hell of a juggernaut that will be facing them, won't it?
Yeah, it will. Yeah.
Seb, anything there that jumps out at you?
No, I mean, I kind of expected maybe Wednesday to kind of dig out something, having had a couple of weeks on the training ground with the new manager, but it looks like their rotten luck continues. I think they must be now the worst ever at this stage of a season in terms of points tally. So no noticeable improvements for them. And like you said, the Huddersfield QPR thing, I mean, QPR got battered, was it 4-0 before the break, decided not to make a change. And I did notice there was a goal for an Andre Dizelle corner in that game. So yeah. I guess if you keep trying something long enough, eventually you get your just rewards. But they must be thinking, what do we have to do here to get something out of this side? Because they looked poor again.
Yeah, the float to the far post corner will work once every 4 years or so. Yeah. So after all that, actually, as it goes, let me just grab the table and put that up. Things are looking pretty rosy for Ipswich Town, because despite us not playing at the weekend, we still find ourselves 6 points clear of Leeds in third with a 5-goal superior goal difference, and 10 points clear of Wayne Rooney's Birmingham in 7th with a far superior goal difference. So all things considered, Mikey, a pretty good weekend. It would have been nice, I suppose, had Leeds not managed to get a winner, just to keep them a little bit more at arm's length. But beggars can't be choosers.
No, and it's always good to see Norwich concede a late winner when they've been winning as well. But yeah, Southampton and Leeds, you feel like they're only going to get better, and Leeds have started slowly, but are already up there in third with a points total that would quite often have you a little bit higher than that. And then Southampton back up in the top 6 as well, looking decent. Maybe things have clicked there a little bit for Russell Martin, but we'll see. It looks like Preston probably not going to be in the top 6 for the long haul, are they? It's quite a few decent teams just below that top 6, but they're so far behind us in terms of points, aren't they?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting point actually about Southampton. They have corrected, considering the start that they had, and Russell Martin's tactics weren't maybe working and producing the goods. To find themselves in 5th is a bit of a turnaround, isn't it?
Just looking ahead there, quite surprised. Plymouth Argyle have slipped, haven't they? 4th from bottom.
He made 6 changes as well, apparently, yesterday, didn't he? Schumacher changed half the side to try and invigorate something. Obviously, they come to Portman Road next Saturday, so hopefully their run of poor form will continue.
That's not a bad point, I guess, at West Brom, though, is it? But I was really surprised to see how low they were.
It's almost like if you have poor underlying numbers, eventually you get found out. But we'll discuss that more on the pre-match show on Thursday night.
When we know for sure the Plymouth fans are joining us.
Yeah.
I suppose that also if your home form, which you have been quite reliant on, shall we say, for the previous year or two, stutters, then things do tend to slide. So that's what happened this weekend. In terms of bits and pieces this week, pod-wise, we've got yourself, Seb, and Rich are live on Thursday, I believe, as you say, talk about the upcoming match against Plymouth next weekend, and also to give a little bit of a recap of our 3-0 victory at Ashton Gate on Wednesday evening. And then the live flagship again will be hopefully talking about an actual match that happened next Sunday, as ever, 8 p.m. on Sunday evening. And while we're here, we have a 25% discount, a promo at the Blue Monday merch store. So that's running this week, I think, from Tuesday to Thursday, 24th to the 26th. And you can purchase a long-sleeved T-shirt like Mikey is wearing there, and a trucker's cap, which Seb has previously modelled and hung on his wall. But so there's 25% off everything in the Blue Monday merch store, and that can be found at bluemonday.itfc.co.uk. And as ever, you guys that are watching, please like, please subscribe, please give us a thumbs up now or after the event. It'd be absolutely fantastic. And while we've finished our plugs, we'll have a quick word from our sponsor.
Innovation Labs is business hub and co-working space with strategic locations across Suffolk. Our aim is to foster innovation, entrepreneurship, business growth, and the development of an AI centre of excellence in Suffolk. Monthly hot desks are available from just £79. For more info, head to innovationlabsgroup.com or contact info@innovationlabsgroup.com. Innovation Labs, providing support for businesses across Suffolk. Locations in Stowmarket, Ipswich, Sudbury, Woodbridge, with more to follow.
Good quick talking at the end there, Mikey, and the old T's and C's. I like it. Very professional. In terms of this week, then, I'm going to hand over to yourself, Seb, because you have manfully done even more research for another game that you probably hadn't even got on your radar to bother doing, because you were sitting back with a cigar lit with a week off. But we've got you to do some work over the weekend and produce some facts and figures like you normally do for the normal pre-match for our match against Bristol City on Wednesday. Do you want to take it away, and we'll interject as and when?
Yeah, not as detailed as normal, but we'll go over the key headlines and stuff. So Bristol currently sit 8th with 18 points from 12 games. played 12, won 5, drawn 3, lost 4. Yesterday's win over Coventry, we discussed the games a minute ago. Obviously, Bristol City beat Coventry 1-0 yesterday at Ashton Gate. That kind of turned around a bit of a dodgy run of form. They'd lost 3 of the previous 4 going into that game, and even that game wasn't overly convincing, but they did get the 3 points. The home form is what I guess is important with us making the journey across to the southwest. 8 points from the 6 games they've played. Don't keep many clean sheets. 3 clean sheets in 12 games so far this season. Was a clean sheet yesterday in the win against Coventry. It was a goal, a set-piece goal from the centre-back Rob Dickey, who joined them in the summer from QPR. They were a bit lucky. Coventry hit the woodwork twice. Matt Godden also missed it. He was one of the guys that hit the woodwork. He also missed a good chance. Only 32% possession yesterday, only 6 shots to 12, but they did have more on target. So I think it's one of those kind of hard-fought wins that kind of stops a crappy run of form, like we would have under Mick every now and again, you know, where you can sometimes steal a win and put a back-to-the-wall performance into halt a poor run of form. And obviously they'll be looking to build on that with us and Mark Ashton making his return to Ashton Gate on Tuesday night.
Yeah, that stuff. As Romeo says here, how long will the standing ovation Mark Ashton last on Wednesday? I suppose it depends if he's running up and down the touchline following a victory and high-fiving the away fans.
Craig, do you think there's maybe an argument for Ashton just not being in attendance on Wednesday night, just to try and avoid the circus a little bit, or?
Well, it's funny because hello to Annie. I think this is who's here from a Bristol City perspective. We asked actually on one of the shows a week or two back, asked if there was, you know, it's just a Twitter thing. Now there's a dozen guys on Twitter who get all angry about Mark Ashton, and the feeling was that, yeah, you know, in terms of the general feeling amongst the Bristol City fans, it's, you know, got no real animosity towards him. But you know, I suppose that we'll wait and see.
He's no shrinking violet, is he? I think
he'll be there. If I was a betting man, he will 100% be there.
100%. He certainly will be there. Yeah, probably in an even higher profile than normal, probably.
If we win, he'll be in the dressing room on the Town in 5 video at the end, I'd imagine, high-fiving people and stuff.
Without a shadow of doubt.
Yeah.
At the front of the director's box, you think, just for
I think the criticism towards him, I looked into it because I wasn't really familiar why he had kind of this, you know, this 90-page thread on one of their social media sites about him. And the main reason seems to be there's 2 main reasons. It's the summer 2019 transfer window, and it's the appointment of the replacement of Lee Johnson. So in 2019, they sold Adam Webster, as we know, to Brighton and get 20 million quid. They sold Lloyd Kelly to Bournemouth, 14 million quid, and Josh Brownhill to Burnley for 10 million pounds. They then went out and spent money. And I think I might be wrong. If the Bristol guy can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, I think he was more involved in maybe talent ID at Bristol than he is here. I think that's some of the accusations that were maybe placed against him. And they go out and they spend 9 million on Thomas Callis, 4.75 on Naki Wells, Casey Palmer, 4 million quid, Jada Silva, 2.4 million, Daniel Bentley, the keeper, 2.4 million quid. They go out and have a real splurge of money. And slowly, as the seasons go on, 2 things happen. They drop down the leagues. They go from finishing like 8th and touching distance of the playoffs. They then become a 16, 15, 17 kind of play side. And these signings they've paid big money for, most of them just leave for free, either in the summer just gone or a couple of windows before. So that seems to be one of the major issues against him. The other one is that he appointed Dean Holden when Lee Johnson moved on from the club, ahead of Paul Cook apparently and Chris Hughton. So I think there's a bit of issue around that because, you know, they saw an inexperienced manager come in where there were other options on the table. We know what he's done with us. You know, obviously it's in his DNA to go out maybe and appoint a young up and coming coach. Dean Holden for them didn't work out. He gets fired after 7 straight defeats before they appoint Nigel Pearson. And I think that combined with the horrible transfer window means they kind of feel they've wasted a load of time under that particular manager. And obviously since that splurge of cash, because they've got no money in for their those big money signings, they've been really kind of hampered by FFP. The last few windows, the last few years have been very few kind of fees paid, and it just seems to be a bit of a mess of, you know, a load of money in and then just wasting it, a bit like we saw under, you know, the likes of Keane and Jewell and stuff.
To be fair, they've had a reasonable start, haven't they? To be sitting in 8th, only a point out of the playoffs, they've had a more than decent start, really.
It doesn't feel like a happy camp, though, does it? I mean, I don't know if you've seen Pearson's comments after the game yesterday. He's kind of come out, and said,
dour, isn't he?
Yeah, my position doesn't feel secure. And, you can go and ask somebody at the club about my situation if you can find somebody willing to come out and talk. So it kind of feels like it's not a happy home life at the moment there.
Yeah, I think a tight one, though. I mean, I just say they don't score many, they don't concede many either, did they? I think they scored 15, conceded 13, which is as many as we have. So, yeah, I think a typical maybe Pearson set up team. I think they played 5 at the back yesterday. I think it was like 5 at the back. I don't think it'll be a straightforward game.
No, I'm seeing it as a bit of a tough one. I think it's got the hallmarks of one of those games where maybe, I guess the ideal scenario, you beat Rotherham on Friday night, you take a point, and then you look to follow up against Plymouth. Yeah, exactly. I think
2 points.
I think it might be a difficult game. I mean, the Mark Ashton stuff to one side, they've got some kind of standout players. Sykes down the right wing, 2 goals, 2 assists. He'll provide a bit of a threat. They've got a guy up front. I can't remember his name. Hang on, where is it?
Sam Bell.
Yeah, Sam Bell's got 4. Bell. He can play on the left or play up front. Tommy Conway can lead the line, 2 goals in 5 appearances. They have got a bit of an injury crisis and an illness crisis at centre back. It was very much a makeshift back 3 against Coventry yesterday, with the left back Pring tucked inside, and Andy King, who we know as a central midfielder from his Leicester days, he kind of had to tuck into central defence to kind of make a makeshift back line. But I think Kai Naismith is due to be back from injury. Jason Knight was a big money signing in the summer from Derby. He had illness, so I think he'll probably come back into the side. So I think it might be a bit of a tricky one.
Yep.
Yeah, nice one. Just a quick one here from John, saying that it's their local-ish derby. That over 100 Southwest-based Town fans in attendance on Wednesday.
Great
so
stuff.
Brilliant.
As ever. John, actually, if you want to just stick something in Telegram, let me know if you guys are meeting up somewhere pre-match. I'm heading down that way for the evening, so maybe up for my one match of the year where I'm allowed to have the beer. So in terms of we don't. It's not a happy hunting ground, is it, Seb? But we don't. Certainly in recent times.
Yeah, it's not the best. Our overall record against them is better. We've got 29 wins to their 23. The last time we went there was a 1-1 draw in the relegation season. One of these games, me and Rich do this sometimes. We talk about our last visit to these clubs in the year we went down, and we have very little recollection. And this is one of them. I mean, we drew 1-1. Adam Webster scored against us, obviously. And it was a Lloyd Kelly own goal to bring us level. They went 6th. We stayed bottom, 12 points from safety. But it's not a place we traditionally do well in the last few years. The last time we won was a 3-0 victory on the opening day of the 2011-12 season. Michael Chopra scored twice against David James in goal. Lee Martin got one as well. I've got a quiz for you. Do you want to do a quiz? Rich loves it when I throw these at him. That lineup, I've given you 2. Of that lineup, how many can you name from that opening day in August 2011? And a bonus point, there were 5 ITFC players, either to become ITFC players or former players, involved on the Bristol side. So see how many of them you can get as well.
Cool. What we going for first? The Ipswich lineup?
Go for the Ipswich lineup. It was a 4-4-2.
You don't want him in any particular order, I presume. I'll go.
No.
Good. We've got Chopper and Martin scored, yeah?
Yep.
Grant Ledbetter.
Yep.
Priskin?
No. Not sure if he'd left at that point. I can't remember. This is Jules' first full season, isn't it? His only full season, actually.
Delaney? Damien Delaney.
Yep. And Lee Bowyer, yep. So the central midfield was Lee Bowyer and Grant Ledbetter. So keeper, we had a perennial loanee for a keeper that year. We had 2 or 3 different loans.
Stephen Henderson.
No, that was a year later under
Stockdale.
Yeah, Stockdale's the keeper. Right back, well, you won't get this. It's weird. It looks like we played a player out of position at right back. It was a up-and-coming Scouse left back who joined us, who got shunted across for his debut.
Cresswell.
Yep.
Oh, he played right back.
He can't have done.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Well, according to the lineups and the various websites and stuff I checked.
2011-12, we had a decent start that season, didn't we?
Carlos Edwards.
Yes, right wing.
Edwards and Ledbetter were there.
So you've got the midfield. So you're missing a centre back, the left back, and the other striker.
Jason Scotland.
No.
Oh, Jet.
Yes, he played up front alongside Chopra.
So
you've got one centre half and the left back.
He played for Bristol City, didn't he?
Was Macaulay still there?
No, he'd gone at that point.
I'll give you a shout. Mark Kennedy.
Yes, he was the left back. Yep, Kennedy slotted in at left back. So it's just the one centre back to go. You won't. I doubt you'll get it. It was he didn't go down in the history books of one of the greats. It was Ivar Ingemarson from joined from Reading. And like I said, there were 5 Bristol City players involved that day who either became Town players or were previous Town players. Do you reckon you can have a stab at any of them? A couple will be obvious, but
I'll have a go at one.
Yeah.
Cole Skews.
Yep, one.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Rory Fallon.
No.
Bristol City.
Dave's mate. Jordan Spence.
Yes, there you go. Yep.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Well, I would not have pegged that at all.
Yeah.
A goalkeeper who joined us, I think the same year we signed Scoose, maybe a year before we signed Bart, was the regular
Dean Gherkin.
Dean Gherkin, yeah. And then 2 strikers, one sold by us and one joined us a couple of years later. Yep, John Stead. And the last one joined us, must have been 3 years later, I think, striker.
Type of striker?
Classy. I liked him, but no, didn't fit in a Mick scenario at all. Played 2 years for us and moved on.
Yeah, your man from the Channel Islands.
Brett Pittman. Yeah, Brett Pittman. So
Brett
Pittman, quite a few ITFC links in that one, but traditionally not a happy hunting ground.
He had very hairy legs, Brett Pittman, apparently, according to my son, who was mascot for a match and got to go in the change room. That's one thing he remembers from that day. Brett Pittman's
I remember Chopra lobbing one over David James.
I remember thinking we'd finally got a 20-goal a season striker after a few years of struggling to get players to 9 and 10 in the league or whatever. I thought he was going to solve all of our problems, but then it all kind of went downhill not too shortly afterwards.
He was on course for 92.
Yeah. That last game against Bristol City, Seb, was live on Sky.
Was it? I can't remember it at all.
Miles Kenlock provided the assist for the own goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Your memories I can see the own goal now. Yeah. Okay. My mind's eye.
That was one of our better performances that season under Lambert.
I was going to say it's a decent away point. That considering they moved up to the playoff 6th. Did you say? After that game?
Yeah, they went 6th and we remained 12 points adrift of safety. So they were a good side back then.
I assume.
To be fair, being 8th now is still a decent turnout for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it is.
What's the weather saying down in Bristol? A lot of bodies of water around there.
I mean, it's round. Well, don't know about Bristol, but round here it's supposed to be wet all forecast rain bloody every day. I think. Not like it was on Friday. I don't think. Not like it was.
No, I've got to say, we'll be all right, won't we? Jesus, wet. We'll be absolutely fine. We'll get game in.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine.
Perfect. Well, thanks for that, Seb. Perfect. Good stuff. Abbreviated match stat pack and a little quiz thrown in as well. So there was a few answers flying in from the people here. Sorry, I was too busy trying to rack my brains to put up people's guesses. I think it was a little bit later, maybe, wasn't it? But Veronica came in with Shipman. Eric Clacton's come in with Ken Lock. Yeah. Very good. So I think that's probably us actually for tonight. A very marginally shorter pod than normal, but as I say, it's we've done well to stretch out for so long, given we had very, very little to talk about. But as I say, this week, please join Seb and Rich on Thursday at 8 for the pre-match for the Plymouth game at the weekend, and they'll go through the Bristol City match as well. And then no doubt Dave will be back next Sunday night with others to be confirmed. So if you're going to Bristol, please enjoy the game. Thank you to Mikey. Thank you to Seb. Thank you to Dave. And we don't see you at Bristol. We'll see you Thursday night at 8 p.m. Thanks a lot.